Good evening and welcome to everyone to the continuing teaching on Chandrakirti's Madhyamika Avatara, which is a text that is trying to guide our mind to not stay in the wilderness of extreme views, but enter into the gate of the way of the Buddha, the middle way, be it in our everyday struggles of personal situations, or be it some philosophically studying, or spiritual practices or discipline, whatever they like. Often there is a most safer way to which one should find a gateway to, and most do not find the gate. They continue to wander in the wilderness. So those who discover the Dharma must know what middle way constitutes. And first of the entry to the middle way is one has to learn the very fundamental treatises such as Madhyamika Avatara. So we have started this with the first session last week. We looked at the title of the text, which is Entry to the Middle Way. We have to keep remembering that, because whether we are entering into the right path or whether we are sort of loitering elsewhere. And when we are, you can tell we are suffering. We hold views and opinions that is hurting us, that is colliding with others, that is not making compassionate decision ourselves or towards others, and that's when we know we are not entering the path or on the path. So I think this very title is quite a confronting one, and very challenging one, and most importantly useful one. Because if you know that you're entering the middle way, and even if our understanding of theory and details are very few, but we know the two extremes that we need to avoid. When we are avoiding two extremes, we're much gentler, we are habitually much kinder, philosophically much more interdependently originated. Behavior was very nonviolent. And our meditation will be union of calm abiding, especially inside. When you do meditate, that will help you to enter into meditatively to enter into the middle way, during which you can best realize the right view. Behaviorally also, we know how to avoid extreme aggression or extreme sort of self-mortification, but rather in a very compassionate way. And philosophically, view is we know everything is interdependent. To say he's right, you are wrong is extreme. Everything is interdependent. Not independently done by him, that is so he entirely wrong. That independently done by her, that is entirely right. If you take that view, you're taking sides. You're not middle way. You're falling into the extreme. So we got to really practicalize the teachings. Some of the topic may be a bit over our head at times, but we got to always come down. What is the main point of this text? Make it relevant to our life. And therefore, I was going to, of course, this text is really very in-depth oral commentary, largely based on Gorampa's Sonam Singhi's commentary, 16th century Tibetan Sakya scholar. And Khenpo Khenche Mi'kmaq Tsering late, he taught on the basis of that, and so it's all there for you to read. What I decided to do from last week onwards is that I will rather use the Chandrakirti's auto-commentary, his own commentary, going back to the very first commentary, his own commentary, which is not quite, I would say, influenced by warring philosophical schools, either in India or in Tibet. I don't think we need any of those. This school said that, that school said that, because real heretic is ego. It's not the other schools. Real heretic is ourselves going in the wrong extreme view. That needs to be corrected, and we need to direct into the right path. Not some ancient Indian schools still lurking among Tibetan or lurking among Buddhists, or not like. Some of the textual presentation often appears like that. They divide in different doctrinal schools and try to show loopholes in their views. There's some merit in that if you wanted to go in that direction. But we as a layman and woman who's studying the Dharma try to apply in an everyday practical level. We want to look at what is the most practical application that the middle way teaching has to our lives. Not that Gorampa's commentary or others' commentary aren't like that, but often it does delve into very, very complex philosophical arguments, which appears a little bit only dialectically interesting. Anyway, so that is also going to make us to get through the text a little bit. And also, all of you are literate. You have the book, and you can take time to read the book that Kempola has taught and has been carefully transcribed. So that is, I don't need to read to you that text, but I rather go over the essential practical meanings based on Chandrakirti's auto-commentary, which is translated, but I'd rather go on the Tibetan myself, too, which is also a little bit of a learning for myself, because I'm just as a student as much as you are. I can only say that I've heard this teaching twice before, and so if you haven't heard any before, then only I can teach it to you, because you haven't heard it before. And maybe my own maybe life's journey, and how I try to use the teaching to help to direct correct and direct my wrong views and so on. That's probably most useful than any other schools or thoughts. If it help me, it will definitely help you. I'm sure you will have those complexities and indecisions in your mind. You come up. It's usually those two extreme views that's pulling you either direction, not allowing you to go into the middle way. So that being the case, but nevertheless, I will stick with the Gorampa's outline to help us. We went through the title and then the main text starts with a salutation by the author to none other than to compassion, knowing the praise to compassion, be that Shravakas or Pratyeka Buddhas or Bodhisattvas or fully enlightened one, all of them are product of compassion. So by paying homage to compassion, not only you're paying homage to those who realize compassion, but we are also taking into heart how we should practice that compassion to sentient beings, Because we are not entering into the path, let alone the middle way, if we are not practicing compassion. If you're using judgment, violence, if you're using resentment, retaliation, that's not compassion. So paying homage to compassion will be just a superficial act. It shouldn't be just a ritual of paying homage, bowing down to compassion. It means we have to bow down to object of compassion. So that was a really implied meaning of the first verse. Bodhisattvas and Buddhas are a result of compassion. So the causes of bodhisattvas are loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta. So therefore, actually praising what compassion constitute to the sentient beings who are constantly drowning, falling from higher realms, like the examples of the watermill, where the bucket pours water on a varying degrees of there are as many as 6 different reasons how we continue to fall down so easily and so difficult to get higher, because of the analogy of the bucket full of water pouring onto the watermill. And how easy it is to pour the water, and how easy is it called for the mill to circle, but how difficult it is to scoop the water and get on the top and then again pour. So it's showing the analogy how difficult it is to get on the top and how easy it is to go down. So why, therefore, the compassion directed to sentient being, compassion directed to the nature of suffering, sentient being, and objectless compassion. These 3 are all implicitly included in that praise to the within the first 3.5 verses. Then, coming to the explaining the main text itself, the main text itself goes to explain the 10 Bhumis, because the 10 chapters that Chandrakirti has committed are designed to show the 10 different stages of development of one who cultivates compassion, yeah? And, of course, bodhicitta. We could be intellectually informed to develop compassion. We might think even I have given rise to bodhicitta as a relative bodhicitta, but until you truly realize the ultimate bodhicitta, you don't reach even the first stage of the Buddhahood. So therefore Chandrakirti, by the way, means, Chandra means moon, Kirti means famous, moon-like famous, moon-like famous. So what he's saying is he uses the analogy of generating a bodhicitta like a moon waxing. The first new moon all the way to the full moon. There's like 15 or 14 days before the moon becomes fully waxed. Yeah. Likewise, when a person first gives rise to bodhicitta and take up the bodhicitta, makes a commitment to practice bodhicitta, and conceive the bodhicitta and meditate on even you do reading, even you study, if you're meditating, you do sadhanas, they have to be all motivated by that aspirational bodhicitta. One who keeps the vow to maintain the bodhicitta, firstly he or she become inspired by merely reading and hearing and listening and thinking about it. And some whose amazing examples of just like they go living by example, those who are able to not just wish and pray, but also who practice these paramitas, such as generosity and tolerance, where they need to. Instead of trying to prove someone wrong because they say you're wrong, but try to practice the bodhicitta by not retaliating, by not by seeing they are suffering, they are sentient beings, and you know their sufferings, and you are inspired to practice compassion. But when you have particular suffering, sentient beings difficult to you, you remember, this is the cause of compassion. If the compassion is cause of the enlightenment which Chandrakirti paid homage to, I, as a student of Middle Way, should pay homage to cause of compassion, which is suffering sentient beings. So to not just formally bowing down to them, but giving up one's aggression, surrendering that, and then feeling the plight of the sentient being suffering, not going into who's right and who's wrong, but how to bring compassion to rescue both. No wonder Chandrakirti spent first 4.5 verses talking about what is the cause of Buddhahood as well as Bodhisattvahood. Sarvakahood, Pratyeka Buddhahood, all of those four, sainthood, are all dependent on degrees of realized compassion. We have to. So by that, then Chandrakirti goes to explain the main text by dividing into 10 chapters. 10 chapters. And then he goes to identify the chapters with the name of each of the 10 bhumis. Bhumis or grounds. The grounds is like you develop, you take new ground stage of development, And people, very early Tibetan authors like commentators on this text like Rendawa Shinuludu, one of the very shining examples of Madhyamika in Tibet. We have saying in Tibet, Umarela Tuk, Umarela Tuk means that the Madhyamika teachings in Tibet was held together by Re, means Rendawa, So he's the great teacher who became great teacher of Tsongkhapa. Tsongkhapa became a very famous teacher, only having been groomed by Rendawa Shinuludu. Rendawa uses the 10 chapters as the 10 gestations period of Buddhahood. Like when the first 9 stages is like the development in the womb, First 9 stages like the Buddhahood is developing in the womb, and when the Buddha is born, then his Buddhahood is attained. So when you attain the 10th Bhumi, then it is like the actual enlightenment. Until then, you are the different stages of the 10 bhumis. So he likens the 10 chapters as 10 different stages of development. So the stages are therefore very important. I'm very happy that I can do this, not just to you, but I can spend my whole Tuesday reading 3 or 4 commentaries, and then what do you call, soak myself in that, and then whatever I can best remember, and then try to share on these things. So going to explain the main text is therefore going through the 10 stages, 10 bhumis, of which the first of the 10 stages was therefore introduced. First stage, which we covered, was the verse number 4 and 5. So that's exactly where we finished last week. Fifth verse, and just is talking about how when a person gains the first bhumi, what happens to him. When you take a position, you first have a change of name, and then you increase your wages. You increase your influence, and you don't have to do certain things like that, So it's talking about qualities that you gain. So we go straight into the text on page 54. First is talking about the transference of the name. Transference of the name. When you achieve the first bhumi, your name will be changed. There are 4 attributes. First is the attributes of changing name. He says, and henceforth, gaining this, meaning that as soon as you gain the first bhumi, which was called supreme joy, a lot of joy and gratitude, they take the name of bodhisattva and are thus renowned. So it says that when it says that gaining this means the mind, the bodhicitta mind. When you have realized this realization is ultimate bodhicitta. This realization, not just conceiving as wishing bodhicitta, like Shantideva says that as soon as you give rise to bodhicitta, your name changes. That's he's talking about in the bodhisattva's way of life, that those who merely take bodhicitta vows, they receive the name. Yeah, so that's just to the relative bodhicitta. When it says after attaining this, gaining this, meaning realizing ultimate bodhicitta, which is distinct from relative bodhicitta. From henceforth, meaning as soon as you realize the ultimate bodhicitta, they means the bodhisattvas. These bodhisattvas are bodhisattvas dwelling on the first bhumi. These are not the aspirant bodhicitta or trainee bodhisattvas. Aspirant trainee bodhisattvas go through the path of accumulation and path of preparation. So the bodhisattvas got those pre bhumi stages, two paths. Path of accumulation, path of preparation. So Shantideva is generous to give the name that you will earn the name as a bodhisattva as soon as you receive the bodhicitta. But he's only referring to a relative bodhicitta. Actual realization of a name of bodhisattva and have the qualities and so on, which talks here refer to the ultimate bodhicitta. So that's referring to because what is that name? What is that gaining? Attainment of the that which surpasses in many ways from ordinary people, and that then constitute designatable title bodhisattva. So therefore, name of bodhisattvas are designated as you achieve that status, not by merely doing rituals or by going through formality, or even by memorizing whole bodhisattva's way of life. It would not receive that. So, Chandrakirti quotes the 25,000 verse, for 25,000 line perfection wisdom about that, which I wouldn't go to quote, because name of bodhisattva is not only received, but it will be renowned. There are many people, thousands of millions of people who take bodhisattva vows, for instance, in a country like in Tibet. But there are only few who are regarded as bodhisattvas, like Ngulcho Tome, or Dromtumpa, or Sakya Pandita, or Tsongkhapa. There are only few, only you can count on fingers, that actually were identified as earning the title because of distinct qualities that they themselves shown through their work and deed and activities. So not everybody will receive that title. Only one who has received ultimate bodhicitta. But as far as wishing bodhicitta is concerned, ordinary sentient beings also have the wish to gain Buddhahood. It doesn't mean the wishing bodhicitta of those who receive the first bhumi is different. Their wishing bodhicitta is still there. Wishing bodhicitta is the one that is like a pile of light, This pile of light stays same as, but those who reach the first bhumi, their pile of light never goes off. That's one difference. Whereas our pile of light sometimes might go off because we lapse, or we become some crook with over things, and then become angry and then don't want to do anything good. People stay like that. So we could lose even relative bodhicitta very quickly. So, but the one who has earned the name of bodhisattva by gaining that status, and they are renowned for their consistent habit and qualities and effect that they have to others as a bodhisattva. Some names are what we call takming, which is merely imputed. Other names are actual names for things, Yeah. So therefore, this bodhisattva is actual having the quality who is a bodhisattva, All others are just trainee, L-plate bodhisattvas. Have an L-plate bodhisattvas. But the bodhisattvas who are true bodhisattvas for their act and realization, they are named for what they actually are and do. Yeah, so that's a taming and nguming, So that's that. And now we move to verse number 6. Verse number 6, and this goes to now talk about the attribute of the meaning. So the first is being born in a lineage, and lineage of the bodhisattvas. Second is attribute of what things they perfect, what things they abandon, and another is what they realize, and what power the bodhisattvas have. Yeah. So there are many different qualities. So first is the attribute of being born in this lineage. So it says, for they are born in the offsprings of the Tathagatas. Dine deshin shikpa namki rikswang kepates. So they are actually born in the race of the Buddhas, race of the Buddhas. That means they have surpassed ordinary people, the Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, and they have therefore become bodhisattva. They are born in the bodhisattva status, and because of that, they are destined to achieve the 10th Bhumi, Kuntu, the luminous one, the luminosity. Therefore, they are born like someone who is born in the royal family. I don't know. There are lots of little kids there. He's first in line or second in line. They will be kings because they're born in the race of the family. This question is how long their grandmother holds, and then everybody moves. Everybody, no matter how well, even how gifted an English person is, a prime minister, he's never going to get that. So the only one born in the family will get there. So like that, one who's born in the Buddha family is Tathagata, is one who has achieved the first Bhumi. One who has achieved the first Bhumi, then he's distant. Nothing will turn him back. It's just a question of time. We'll achieve the 10th Bhumi. Why? Because at that time they have realized selflessness of person. They no longer. So this is talking about. Three fetters they have utterly forsworn. Means they have totally eradicated. This is the second quality. Second attribute is the abandonment. They abandon these three fetters. Three fetters, or I like the word enwrapment. It just kunjor means it just holds you. What are the three fetters that we are bound by? Is the three wrong views. First is viewing transient collection as self, like five aggregates as self. So the body as self, and feeling as self, and so on, doing and all the things as self. We don't even think it's a wrong view. This is the right view. This is my body. This is me. We don't even hesitate. We try to authenticate that that's me. And not only in a conventional way of identification, but lots of our hurt and pain and the fact that we don't enter in the middle way is because we are grasping to any of the five collections, transient collection of me, and therefore we don't enter in the middle way. We are fettered. We are bound. We are locked by our own grasping to the five transient collection of self. Whereas one who reaches this first Bhumi is totally cut the chain. He's no longer free. He's totally free from the grasping to the five aggregates. Five aggregates. So that's the first fetter. Second fetter is doubt. Until you reach the first Bhumi, you wonder why we have doubt. We have so many doubts. Even we practicing, we have more doubts. And there will be a time that the bodhisattvas have no doubt because there's no longer mold and seized by ego. And because of that, it is now totally selfless to serve the benefit of sentient beings. totally delighted. Remember the first name of the Bhumi is the joy. Is totally delighted by selflessness. We are all depressed by selfishness, and we think it's others depressing us. We don't realize it's selfishness that's depressing us. Bodhisattvas got no doubt that selflessness is the way to go, because they already not only entered the true and middle path, but they have already reached the first stage. So they have no doubt about the seals of Dharma, law of karma, whether former life exists or future life doesn't exist. Oh, there's a lot of sharp, intelligent people, intellectualists. They think they're secular Buddhist, or they are sort of whatever they call, neo-Buddhist, or not quite yet, because they can't identify themselves. They just think they misunderstand Buddhism or something, because they have doubt. Because they think the Buddhism can be practiced without faith. Because they don't want to practice the Buddhism as a spiritual path. They want to practice Buddhism as a dry academic analysis. So they be havocked, they be hijacked by the doubt. So until the doubt is totally eradicated, that's the second fetter. Now we're not talking about just other people, We're talking about ourselves who has this doubt. Even we might be faithful cultural Buddhists, but still that doesn't mean we are free of the fetters. Until you reach the first Bhumi, you still will be bound by one or the other fetters. Like Buddhists, many Buddhists they don't want to go to other lineages, other schools. They doubt about that. This is ridiculous. One who has understood true Dharma, don't do that. So that's the second fetter. Third one is the superiority complex over your moral conduct. If you do this, if you don't do this, you observe this, you observe that. One thing and one is better. One thing, that's the highest form of morality. Everything else is wrong. So one is clinging, enwrapped to one's own righteous way of doing, and therefore very, very negative and unaccepting of others. The Bodhisattva completely free from these three fetters. Therefore, they have the quality of abandonment. Yeah, so that's the verse. Three fetters they have utterly forsworn. So, so each of these verse lines got a lot of meaning, and then so that's the that's the second attributes of abandonment, and then next is realization and power. The realization and power. So the realization is, as it says here, fulfill in supreme joy. So therefore one has amazing sense of a joy that is not comparable by any pleasure, any happiness that worldly people talk about. Even the gods and demigods and heavenly realms have considered to have lots of heavenly pleasures. But these heavenly pleasures are all transient pleasures. They can make them have bitter disappointment later. But this joy, supreme joy, of one who reaches the first Bhumi is not like that. It excels all of that. So that's what we call the realization, and then the power. Power is power to shake 100 world. Power to shake 100 world refers to the Bodhisattva has so much power that if he necessary, he has the strength and power to actually turn the world, 100 world in one moment. Can turn the whole landscape. Everything can be changed. And they can make 100 world system tremble and shake if they need to for the benefit of them, and perform miracles simultaneously at 100 places, 100 world, and 100 different various methods of showing the miracles. So this is just the first Bhumi. The second, third Bhumi goes thousandfold more, more. So the qualities of in the power of the realization, and as a result of abandonment of the three fetters, lot of our inability to help and benefit others is because we're bound by chains ourselves, with grasping to the five aggregates and so on. So, therefore, it says that the power to shake 100 world, because shake means change. Shake means to shift, and therefore show ways to the power of the enlightened one. Bodhisattva on the first Bhumi will have 100 of these, and second Bhumi 1,000, and third Bhumi 10,000. Like this, 10,000 more, 10,000 more, 1,000 more, 1,000 more than the first one, 1,000 more the former, not the first, 1,000 more than the first one, And therefore, almost like unimaginable qualities. Unimaginable qualities. So then the third attribute is suppressing the upper stage. So this means that until the first Bhumi, everybody has to proceed, but there is no certainty of going upwards, because you have to complete the realization of the abandonment, attainment, realization and power. All of these qualities have to be there, because otherwise one may go downwards, but it will not. From the first Bhumi, one will only ascend. There is no descending. There is no reversing. That's why it's got stage. Whereas the stages of the it's coming. So the fourth is the attribute of transcending the lower stages. So this is coming. All paths to lower realms, all paths to lower realms have now been closed. That means the being who has reached the first Bhumi will never, ever relapse and fall in the lower realms. It has completely closed. The doors to the lower realms, to the hell, to the human realm, all have been closed. You will never fall there by karma, except if you choose yourself knowingly to take an incarnation. This is called Rupaka and Nirmanaka, they take form. Otherwise, they themselves will not be forcibly born there. They're totally closed. So they will not form. They will not form. So unlike the beings in form realm, formless realm, they're very high, but they will fall. Once their duration of the godly realm is elapsed, they will all fall down. They are subject to fall down some of the lowest realms and not to go back at all. Unlike that, one who has reached the first Bhumi will never fall. Close. The paths, the states of common beings are no longer theirs. There will never be even if they are in human form, as a bodhisattva, very anonymous bodhisattva, there are quite a few, not just recognized ones and labeled as, but many are unrecognized. And these beings who like a lotus in the soil or mud or water will never be soiled by the mud and water. Exactly. So it says states of common being are no longer theirs. They will not act like the ordinary lowly sentient beings, because they have the attribute of attaining the meaning. Not just name. Not just name transference, not just name is bodhisattva, but they have these qualities. Not only these qualities, they actually have meaning. So the third and last is the attribute illustrated by example. Their level likened to the eighth stage of the Aryas. Now, this is maybe this part we will read because it will help all of you to understand the concept of the arhathood, arhathood. So Kenshin's commentary here is very succinct here. So the one line shows the attribute illustrated by example. This is on page 57. This is in comparison with the Shravaka path. Shravaka is one of the two Theravada paths. In the Shravaka path, as I explained, there are four main results, or four main stages. They are called stream enterer, one's returner, non-returner, and arhathood. So what is the stream enterer? Stream enterer, first is the stream enterer. The second is one's returner, which means that you reach the stage, but you will come back to the desire once. You return only once, so one's returner. Stream enterer means they really enter into stream of the consciousness of their power of the union of calm abiding and special insight meditation. So the Sarvaka and Arhats actually have this stream enterer and abider. Each of these four Arhat stages have two: entry stage and abiding stage. Entry stage is the cause, abider stage is the result. Non-returner means you will never return to the desire at all. So you will. So even Sravakas can reach certain arhathood that they are never subject to reborn in samsara at all. So that's why I call non-returner, because they will reach nirvana. So they wouldn't. You are still in samsara, but you will be reborn somewhere in the form realm and formless realm. That's one's non-returner. So non-returner will not fall in desire realm, but may go in the same states as some of the divine states of form and formless realms, because whose experience, the mental states are very similar. Never to return to the desire realm. So that's the non-returner. And next is arhathood. Arhathood. We'll keep reading this because this is why Kempola explained this very clearly. Each of these four stages, as I mentioned, has two sections. One is entering, other is abiding. Yeah, one is entering and other is staying and realizing. So in all, there are 8 because each of them has these two. Bodhisattva on the first Bhumi in Mahayana is likened to the 8th stage of the Theravada path. There are some argument about what these 8 refer to. There are 8, but which is the 8th one? So that's the question. Is the stage of arhatship, or does this refer to the first stage of the stream enterer? According to Korampa, the commentator here, Kempola talks about, it refers to abiding in the stage of stream enterer. Abiding in this stage of stream enterer, not entering the stream entering stage. So he says start at the second rather than the first. Or the result of stream enterer. So result of stream enterer. Is it counted backwards? So it is counted backwards. So it's counting backwards rather than forwards. Yeah. The first is therefore entering arhatship. So first is therefore is entering arhatship, because entering arhatship would be 8th one, but counted as the first. And the second is arhatship itself. Third is entering non-returner. And fourth will be the stage of non-returner. Fifth is entering once returner. Sixth is the stage of once returner. Seventh is entering the stream enterer, and 8th is the stage of stream enterer. So this is why when it says the level likened to the 8th stage of the Aryas, yeah. Because 8 stages of Arya has these various gradations. How you enter one stage when you then realize that goal, and enter another and realize that goal. Like that, the Bodhisattva who reaches the first Bhumi is illustrated by the examples like that. So now we move on to the how these qualities or attributes of the one who dwelling on the first Bhumi suppresses the power and merits on this stage. So this verse is here, verse number 8. with perfect bodhicitta as the aim, though dwelling on the first. So this refers to the one who has reached the first ground or first bhumi. It is the stage of realization. So this bhumi is like a ground, getting a new ground, or you didn't have a ground at all before. Yeah, you're just walking, and now you have a stage, a status of bodhisattvahood. So as soon as you reach that, the first bhumi has two, merit and wisdom. Yeah, it's just question of this merit and wisdom need to be slightly improved on, gradually speaking, each time when it moves from lower to the higher and then so on. So therefore, when it says with the perfect bodhicitta at the end, though dwelling on the first, those bodhisattvas from Buddha's speech, they now surpass Pratyeka Buddhas. So now they surpass the arhats. Yeah, they surpass arhats. Arhats, the first two lines. So they're talking about how they go to suppress or surpass the Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas. Then, talking about how it's suppressed by power of wisdom on a higher stage, it says they soar above them by the merit growing strength. So, and their wisdom also when on far progress. So this is the name of the seventh bhumi. So how does the practitioner from first bhumi to second bhumi not only surpasses these arhat and shravakas, but they also develop greater wisdom, and because all of their merit previously, because previously there was limited merit not to have any ground. Now there is a sufficient merit to have a ground. Because of the power of the merit, it grows the strength and capacity and formidability. And because of that, their wisdom, discerning emptiness, wisdom discerning emptiness, not that there wasn't there, but their wisdom of like the waxing moon, where the first waxing moon, new moon, and second and third, it's get brighter and brighter. So like that, the wisdom discerning the nature of reality surpasses those of the arhat, shravakas and arhat bodhisattvas. So with this, we go to talk about describing the attribute of superior perfection. This is first showing how does this practice of reaching of the first bhumi, how does this relates to perfection of generosity as the principal perfection, because there are 6 perfection or 10 perfection. How each of these 6 perfection and or 10 perfection correlates to the 10 bhumis. 10 grounds that one achieves, So, because this is the first chapter actually is on the first generation of bodhicitta, which is realization of the bodhisattvahood of the first bhumi. And the first bhumi is achieved by practicing of generosity. Second is therefore then praising what that perfection of generosity is, praising the generosity. Not the ordinary generosity, perfection of generosity, and then how that bodhisattvas, as a beginner who entered the middle way and practicing path of accumulation, path of preparation, slowly need to increase his or her predisposition to practice more generosity. Because the one who is delighted to achieve the first bhumi of delight, joyfulness comes from generosity, not from miserliness, not from greediness, not from possessiveness. So therefore, it's talking about the correlationship between the quality and the merit of generosity. We talked about merit and power and wisdom and ability to surpass other beings and their realization. But by doing what? So it's correlating between cause and effect. Generosity is the cause. Reaching first Bhumi is the result. Result. First Bhumi is the result. So in this, we come to the first one, which is showing perfection of giving as the principal perfection. Principal perfection, not among all the perfection, but principal perfection that is directly related to this Bhumi. Yeah? To realize this Bhumi, you have to first practice perfection of generosity. Perfection of generosity. So that's what we have, the verse number 9. Verse number 9 is the initial cause of perfect Buddhahood is generosity, which here is now preeminent. So that's saying that the bodhisattvas, to achieve the joyous Bhumi, one has to practice the causes, because to achieve the result, the result is only achieved when the cause is consummated. Without the cause, the result, however much you desire, will not be possible. Even if you want a macadamia farm, but you have to plant the seed of macadamia. Or it should already be a farm of macadamia. You can't just say, I will have a macadamia nut and then do nothing there and the macadamia. No macadamia. So you have to create the causes. So therefore, the generosity is first and foremost of all virtues of bodhisattvas and those disciples of bodhisattvas or disciple of any teachings usually practice. If you look at wherever there's generosity, there seems to be spirituality. There seems to be happiness. There seems to be real rejoice and benefit. It straight away opens. It straight away breaks the barrier between who can or who cannot, and so on. It just totally makes everybody feel treated and respected as equanimously. So that's why it says initial cause of perfect Buddhahood is generosity. You can't have second or third Buddhahood without practicing the cause of the first, the initial, which is with joy the bodhisattvas give their flesh. So the bodhisattvas have found so much joy in suffering, in giving their things. Usually people have pain to give things that they own. They dare not to part the things. But bodhisattvas have joy to part the things and do not suffer their things because they don't have fettered. They are not fettered anymore by grasping to the aggregate or things of the aggregate. Because if you are attached to the aggregate body, attached to aggregate things the aggregate is attached to, such as whatever the things are. So dare not to give things or give, let alone to give the very aggregate itself. The bodhisattva, rangsha telang, meaning, even giving their own flesh, they are more dedicated, with joy. The bodhisattva give their flesh. When the Mahasattva gave his body to the hungry tigress, he did so delightfully. Not because nobody will do, he just have to do it, gosh. He delightfully gave his body, and then as a bodhisattva's preeminent discipline is, because the hungry tigress was not only about to die, but she was about the brink of killing 5 youngs. So he couldn't afford to be bystander, indifferent bystander. So he said, to save the 5 little ones and to save the mother of mauling the 5, I can give my body, and then it will be a great cause. At least these 6 creatures are saved. That's selfless, the complete selflessness. And it says that a sign whereby the unseen is inferred, So this means that Bodhisattva's quality, when we hear about it, we just say, wow, we can't imagine anybody doing it, but we can only believe that someone did that. So therefore we have to use inferences, stories like these, teachings like these, and then just establish the existence of the story being valid, like we establish the existence of fire by looking at smoke. So, but otherwise you can't see the fire. It's beyond you to go and to see the fire. But inferentially you have no doubt. Therefore, just as the ordinary things we inferentially establish of existence, you can see, oh, must be Bodhisattva who dare to do that. Or Bodhisattva who go out of their way to do for others without any reward, any recognition, any compliment, or practice amazing blame or punishment or whatever without any attempt to clear their name or whatever, that sort of thing ordinary people do. Bodhisattva sees just no value. He's delighted to wear the blame. He's delighted to have himself suffer. To him, it's not a suffering, by the way. To him, it's not suffering. It's a pleasure. It's a good suffering. We have suffered so many wasteful sufferings. For a change, we actually have a useful suffering. That suffering that wakes us up, that burns the karmic calories. Of course, that's why the Bodhisattva is able to give their own flesh, give their own things for the other, give their own jacket for the one who hasn't got the other. I mean, if we saw somebody do it, we would be amazed, we'd be inspired. But wait until you find the delight to do that. If you do that, that's how we emulate. We emulate, small by small. Just one day maybe flesh, but not often people ask you flesh. But they rather go and buy some fish. You're not quite edible as 200 years ago. Maybe you were quite edible in the nearby territories. So bodhisattvas find delight in doing the things, giving the things, missing themselves, which is not a miss. Giving things to others is not parting things. They have more joy than from keeping. And that is the delight the bodhisattvas can see, whereas others couldn't see. They dare not to part. They have fear, they hope insecurity, they think, what will do if I gave this, I won't have. All kinds of insecure feelings just props up in there. Bodhisattva says, may all the karma of taking that or receiving, may this all be relinquished. May this alleviate all the have-not feelings in the world by doing this. So Bodhisattva is multifariously delighted by this activity. So that's why giving is the principal perfection to practice. Because the bodhisattva are able to relieve the suffering of hunger of the hungry, thirst of the thirsty, loneliness of lonely, have not of the have not, suffering of the have not, and therefore they are able to repair the sufferings. They are able to cause restitution in the benefit of others. It will give them amazing hope. Amazing hope. What they gave is one thing. What kind of a legacy of hope in other beings that people will find is the hope and the good example. And if we haven't heard the virtue of generosity, if we haven't seen the virtue of someone practicing generosity or ourselves trying, we will not be able to make up the mind to do it. Because we don't have the wisdom to discern how much merit it has to allay the sufferings of poverty, of not only in the recipient, but to our own mind. So one who has this creativity Of course, for him or her, they need to practice that very appropriate perfection of generosity. So that is the perfection of generosity is necessary, verse number 9. Then second is now praising the various kinds of generosity. There are various kinds of generosity. This says Trupa, showing generosity as a cause of removing suffering. Practicing generosity not just make us feel good and joyful, If it doesn't remove the sufferings of others, then of course what's the point of us feeling good? So actually, therefore, it's cause of removing suffering of the recipient, of the giver, and anyone third party would be delighted by it. They will find hope in humanity. So that's what it's talking about that. And showing it a cause of permanent happiness. Of these two, let's discuss the first. Showing it as cause of removing suffering. All living beings, all living beings yearn only for happiness. And yet there's no human joy without enjoyment of possessions. Yeah? They want happiness. Oh, but they don't have the causes of even temporary happiness, such as things, bare necessities. Yeah, so they want to have happiness, but they don't have A, B, C. Because of that, they are miserable. So things they have are not sufficient because they are thinking more of the things they don't have. So they are very miserable because they can't think of things they have, They're only thinking of things they don't have. So when the Bodhisattva can give what they don't have, of course it will patch the hole. Patch the hole. Latter in their turn arise from generosity, meaning our generosity only comes from you're having things to give, isn't it? You can't say, I want to be generous, but have nothing to give yourself. You have to have some things that you earned, saved from sweat and tear. And then if you have possessions, then you can give. You can't just imagine giving and like this. Just imagining giving. You actually have to have things to give. That alleviates hunger, that alleviates thirst, that alleviates poverty or whatever you have to have. So Buddha knows the cause and effect relationship. Yeah? Our abundance in this life are because we practice generosity in the past incarnation. We may not remember it. We may think, I work hard this year, I invest that, or he gave it to me. We think like that. No. All things we have came from past life's generosity. Even our bare necessities, things that we have, all came direct merit of generosity in the past. So that's what it's talking. Latter, in turn, arise from generosity. Possessions, good family, good things, whatever you have, are because you practice these things in the past. Yeah, Tube Tangbur Jimpe Tamzeto. Therefore, this Buddha knew, and so he spoke of the generosity first. Generosity as the first. To illustrate that. Because, for instance, someone is thirsty and cold and have nothing to eat or wear. And if you gave food for the hungry, drink for the thirsty, and clothes for the cold and so on, then it will totally remedy their hunger and thirst and so on. And you can see the cause and effect relationship. So straight away, it uplifts the morale and the person. Straight away, there's a smile on the hungry person. He barely just had only a couple of ounces of food in the mouth, but he's got a smile there. Because otherwise, he was feeling miserable. He was having a lot of rumblings sound in the stomach or feeling cold or whatever. As soon as you do that, it straight away, it brings immediate effect. Even though beings want happiness, they want, but they lack the cause of happiness. This is pleasure. I'm going to be talking about cause of just only temporary comfort. Even temporary comfort comes from right causes, So in order to, when we give, we shouldn't give to feel good, but we should give to relieve the sufferings of others. If it helps the cause, then you give for the cause. And then the merit of doing that, and next life, or like we don't have in the past life, what we did has merited us today to have this abundance. We don't know why we are privileged to be born and live in a country that is one of the 10 top in the 300 countries. There must be some. It doesn't happen accidentally. It just happened, not, there are causes for it. So we must give merit, we must give credit to the generosity in the past for all the things that we have. When you do that, then we become much more generous. We're already generous. Then we don't think, I earned it with hard labor this life, and I wanted to keep it. I don't want to do this for honor. We don't think like that. We realize how beneficial it is to have that. Then our mind becomes very generous, very grateful. This is because the whole topic was gratitude, remember? The first Bhumi is about how to be grateful. It generates amazing grace and joyfulness and abundance. So that's so these two verses both deal with that. Meager in compassion and with harsh and ruthless minds, beings seek their self-regarding gain. So this talking about the sentient beings who have very, very little compassion to themselves or to others, and therefore they have very rough and aggressive, very hostile thought, feeling towards others, and they are seeking for their own benefit, Yet the riches they pursue, the healing of the ills, are fruits of generosity alone. So even though they wish all the above, they want, but the wanting is not generosity. Wanting is not generosity. Giving is the cause of the very happiness they so much seek, They seek so much, but that neediness they have, can't be consoled by greediness. They have to realize that all the ills of life are healed by generosity alone. Generosity, when one practices it, all the sweat and tear, all the time it took first to acquire, whatever time and labor and time one has to do to compete, to do all sorts of odd hours of work, all of that hardships. There were so many tedious days and weeks, months hardships. And then fear, worry, anxiety that didn't better the acquisition, but burdened the acquisition. But as soon as you give, all the burdens are cut out of you. Otherwise, the worry, anxiety, fear, and doubt, and suspicion, all of this makes oneself worse off. But as soon as one practices generosity, then all of the yearnings will be fulfilled. They say joy of giving. Even in an ordinary language, they call joy of giving. I think Bill Clinton wrote a book along the works of his charity, and he said how much joy there was he found in giving. Because they make huge money, don't they, by being president. But he didn't realize there was so much joy in anything, but in giving. In helping, all the people realize they can actually do so much good by giving. As soon as they do, then they become alive. Their life is useful. So that's what is really talking about the importance of the generosity. Then second is showing generosity as a cause of permanent happiness, not just temporary name and feeling of gratitude and usefulness and freedom and empowering others and paying all the karmic debts, all of that, but permanent happiness, the ultimate happiness, he says. Verse number 12. Go to that. It says, indeed, it is through the acts of generosity that they are swift to meet with the noble beings. The fact that we meet the Dharma, the fact that we meet the Buddha, the fact that we find refuge in the Triple Gem is by the sheer merit of practicing true generosity. Not just giving things, but giving your heart. Its heart is the faith and devotion is the most difficult to give, because we don't have much. But when you have that heartfelt faith in the teachings and meet the very soldiers of peace, what we call here it talks about the noble beings, Pakpikyo in Tibet is realized beings. You'll meet them. You will meet with them. Not only you will meet with them, but you will extract results. You'll find the benefit from the meeting, because we will meet so many people. And we part them, we meet them, but what benefit? But some meetings have long-lasting benefit. As a result of that, it opened your eyes, it opened the horizons, it softened your attitude, it brightened your mind, it completely tightened your fists, so it loosened your tight fist, therefore making you generous. They cleanly cut the stream of birth and death. So this is talking about the effect. Your rebirth in samsara will be stopped because of the act of generosity. Because one who achieves Buddhahood, first Bhumi Buddha, they have never fall into lower realms, remember? Of course. Then cleanly cut that stream of birth and death. There wouldn't be any rebirth and so forth. And journey into peace possess of such a cause. Yeah, then that result culminates to attain permanent happiness as the result of generosity. So that concludes that. Now the third is talking about the obtaining the manifest result of joy. Number 13. Number 13. Those who keep in their mind their pledge for being's good, meaning those who keep the loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, who keep in their mind, and then they have pledged, and they honor the pledge to see the goodness of benefit of others, and those who keep that mind, that's some high mind, mindfulness, all mindfulness really, just not giving up bodhicitta and actualizing the bodhisattva's act such as generosity and so on. A joy from giving comes without delay. Yeah. Just from the moment you even think you will give, it straight away gives you some kind of amazing excitement and usefulness and the sense of freedom and rightness and goodness, and you believe in it. It will give you this amazing joy, even just giving thought to it. From the very moment you conceive the idea of giving without delay, meaning, because all other things you do something, you try to, your joy doesn't come until you get some result or something. The moment you conceive giving, straight away, it delights you. It takes all your worries and anxieties, fears, clinging and attachment, all of these causes of suffering will be cut loose, severed. Yeah? Jimbe ringbo meto gawatop. Yeah, you will find such a joy. People think they're happy because they met somebody or they got a position. These are really dangerous. These are so childish. Childish people think like that. Wise people Sure, it's good to have a kind friend, and sure, particularly if they teach you how to be selfless, how to practice these things. It's amazing good. So if you have someone like that, of course you realize, you have little knowledge, but their example of selflessness, by being able to meet them, as we were saying, you will meet such people and who will have such influence to yourself, and then, of course, then you find so much joy. Otherwise, the Superman kind of temporary kind of meetings or gainings or kind of promotion, all these are not lasting cause of joy. These are attachment to clinging. These are attachment. Attachment is not cause of happiness, let alone joy. It is just believing that your happiness will come from them. This is saying your happiness will come from your selflessness. That's totally. One is medicine, one is poison, It's good to know which is which. Others are trying to seek the poison, thinking it will be good. So that's why bodhisattvas practice. When they practice generosity, whether it's their time, whether it's their thought, whether there's ideas, whether it's their skillfulness, whether there's actual material things or ideas or company or support or whatever they give, and they realize they're useful. They can empower someone to do this, someone to be able to do what they couldn't do on their own. And then what we had in our possession become multitudely useful. But rather, if we are seeking to get something from other and then think that's cause of happiness, that's definitely not Buddhism. Buddhism doesn't need to come to teach that. Buddhism need to come to say opposite. That's not the case. The cause of happiness is not things or people coming to you. It's things you give to sentient beings, give up for sentient beings, and then give up attachment to them, give up dependency on them. So the bodhisattva need to know what is true cause of happiness and what is pseudo cause of happiness. Yeah, most things pseudo cause of happiness is true cause of happiness, and they never discover the true cause of happiness. Why? Because they don't enter the middle way. They're just walking into some wilderness tracks in the middle way, wilderness, and that takes you into a very dangerous, perilous road, and then you collapse and you fall down. Can you believe? People are climbing and then died. Amazing. They think it's a pleasure or some success or something. They don't realize how dangerous those places are, even just to get there. Let alone giving days and weeks, carry provisions to get there, as they're going to come a lot of joy from things like that. Of course, the world is free. People can do what they like. But it's good to know that some are various dangerous activities. and therefore, practicing generosity, the moment you make up your mind, it says, without any delay, unobstructively, you found joy. Of course, if you actually gave it, and you gave it without attachment, and then empower the things, of course, your joy will be cause of inspiration and will be benefit to ultimate happiness to others. Probably you gave it for not just superficial causes, if you give it for superficial causes, of course it's superficially beneficial, but no long-term benefit. But what did you give for what cause? If the cause is for ultimate benefit to greater good of many, that joy will be the wealth of rest of humanity. Like noble peace, this institution. Amazing. They just, whoever they did it, they put that thing for that cause, and every year, so many people, whatever they did, are not only recognized, but inspired for the rest of the world. This kind of things we're talking about. Not doesn't have to be necessarily spiritual things. Humane things. It doesn't mean it has to be religious activities alone, because what is the religious activities that doesn't help the people? It doesn't say benefit religion, then you gain enlightenment. It doesn't say that. It's benefit object of compassion. This compassion is paid homage to. The cause of compassion is sentient beings. So if you do something beneficial to sentient beings, such as generosity, that's the highest principle perfection. What that one must do the training in. So this is very explicit from that reading. Mm-hmm. Joy, amazing joy comes from that. And topic of giving itself, perfection, giving as it says, for those who have and those who lack compassion, all talk of generosity, thus of highest moment. So it's very important not only for bodhisattvas who have compassion, but for the monks and ordinary practitioners, ordinary people who may otherwise think themselves as relatively poor and hasn't got much to give, they too, should know the virtue of generosity. So neither it is limited to ordinary practitioner, all for everyone. It doesn't mean you have to have this much. It doesn't mean you have to have 6-digit income, or you might have 6-digit kind of savings, or you have to have a third house. Or doesn't mean you may have barely enough in every day from your. But even then, you can promote practicing generosity. So it shouldn't be that only those who have can practice, those who have to not have can't. Even if you have 2 pieces of chapati, give one to the other. Amazing. The Tibetan was saying, "Tige tiga talega, tige tiga talega." He says, if someone give you a piece of food, and because you've been given by others, and then you realize someone next to you don't have anything to, and if you give half of that to him, it's better than a gift of a horse. Tige tiga talega. It's a colloquial saying. It's nothing religious. If somebody gave you something, and then you gave even half that or maybe quarter of that you give to somebody else, it multiplies the merit of someone else's generosity. Because it brings friendship between these 3 that didn't exist before. Humanity, hope is revived, and they will know how delightful it is to give, however small that it is, to someone like that. Tiga tiga talega. Not Chandrakirti doesn't say that, but I remember that. Because we were really struggling when we were in refugees. My brother would have some, he wouldn't give us. Sometimes I don't get to lick even the pot, So we're waiting, who can lick the soup pot? Very, very poor. You wouldn't believe. So my parents said, "Oh, tiga tiga talega," He said, "Give something to him, share with him. It's good." They didn't really study religion. They said that. No, it doesn't. You don't have to be rich or powerful or have to give. You give even small things. When the Bodhisattva sees someone asking something, straight away they say, "Oh, my cause of generosity, him, he asked me to give. Otherwise, I can just think I will, but never actually do it. He's actually instigating me to do it." I think this is coming here. It's coming here. I'm jumping. Verse number 13 finish. Number 14. For those who have. That's okay, good. Third is the nature of joy shown as a superior, as an example. The merest thought. Do you know the word merest thought? Mere thought? Merest, okay. In Tibetan. The merest thought or sound of someone crying, "Give," will bring to children of the conquerors a joy. Meaning a practitioner, a bodhisattva, as soon as somebody say give, for them it gives them joy. And straight away feel, wow, straight away the excellent opportunity. That's a sign that they have realized the practice of bodhicitta and generosity, because it's very difficult to ask and even harder to receive. It's easier to give if you know what must be like to be even dare to ask. What must be the need that they have to ask, and that they actually are happy to receive whatever you give. It's very difficult to be a receiver. It has a lot of ego issue. So someone is, maybe bodhisattva is egolessly pretending that he needs something so as to instigate others to give, because others would not dare to ask. No, I don't want to ask. I don't want to ask. No, I don't want to ask. Why? The cause is small, or you are too big. Yes, we are too big. We don't want to be. We don't want to be the asker of things. I've been there sometimes. No, I don't want to ask that. Some people say, could you ask that? No, I don't want. You can do that. Oh, maybe we can ask for that cause. Just mere. Unknown to arhats, even when they enter into peace, how shall we speak of when they give up everything? Now this is, it says here, Chandrakirti's commentary says, for the time being, when somebody says, please give, and what would most people say? They just act as they didn't hear. They just act as though, yeah, but I don't have it. It's not convenient. I haven't got my wallet. Or whatever. I haven't got any change. That was a good excuse. as if you had to only give change. Instead of being delighted by someone saying, please give, they just, what would most people think? That children of the enlightened ones will become straight away saying, that is the joy, that is the cause of relieving someone's suffering and fulfilling their hope. Yeah? He says, oh, what a wonderful thing. I have opportunity to practice perfection of generosity. And again and again, he will never not only rejoice him giving, but he always thank the one who asks. Such a person who made me too useful to give something, and therefore made my ephemeral possession useful. And he will delight repeatedly, young woman, again repeatedly. He's repeatedly joyous of the causes and conditions, and maybe not only the one who asks, but those things you acquired from, whatever. And then you realize, oh, it is due to that many years I work. Oh, not that. Oh, past life I practice manager. Oh, yeah, that's even better. So you even delight past lives, or generosity, all of those things, and you will repeatedly have joy. It is the continuity of this kind of joyous activity that culminates to Buddhahood. That culminates to Buddhahood. So whether it's a meager physical food or clothes or things you give, or medicine, whatever satisfy the need of whoever they are, just give. Just give. As soon as they ask, give, and you should see, this is helping me to practice what I have envisaged to do, that I have not done yet. I have put on the hold or delay or whatever. I'm so glad they are making me to do what I've wished to do, what I pray to do, what I've heard that I should do, and there it is. So the great beings, now the great beings will not suffer in giving. Such beings do not hear in hearing the word to give. they don't suffer in giving. They don't have attachment to the thing they're giving. They don't have worry about what it will happen. They know it will relieve the sorrow, suffering, temporal, whatever of the world. And because of that, it is stated in one of the sutras, is Akasha Garbha Sutra. If there is a big tree, a sala tree, say if someone comes fells a tree among a big forest, and as soon as you see the tree being felled by someone, so saying that this tree was felled, all these other trees are not felled. It's like if you gave something, then you see many things you to give, many things you haven't given yet. So you realize just like giving is like a felling of a tree, and then you see all the other trees are just there as an example. So you've got many other things to give. If you gave just that, then there are just many. If you just gave something, then you can give other. You can give that. So you got so many things. And therefore one will develop detachment to the things that we thought was ours, we needed them. But the moment you practice giving, your attachment and anger and conflict and discord and competitiveness, all that comes by keeping will be allayed. And doubt and conception, fear, anger, argument about the values of your things will all be not a thing you have to worry about, because you have cause to empower someone to do what they have set out to do. So all the sweat and tear and hardships you did in acquiring, in hoarding, in guarding, in increasing their value or suffering the depreciation, whatever, all will be now useful. Now usefully realized. So he and Chandrakirti quotes Nagarjuna in his commentary. He says, if there is no physical suffering to one who gives for whatever, how could he possibly suffer mentally? Because if physically he can part something, physically he can go and give things he kept with a lot of misery and worry, anxiety, and he has a great freedom from the sorrow of the physical. How could he have any mental sorrow? He will be completely free of the sorrows. Therefore, it is due to compassion one relieves the suffering by giving to the other, and then their suffering will be short-lived. Their suffering will be shortened. They will be empowered to do whatever they like, and which wasn't doing when in your keeping, for instance. Because of that, you find more joy by seeing how it benefited, allay their sufferings or difficulties, and achieve the result. Then you become more delighted, like no other things you have done in the past. This is why it says. This is why the practitioner bodhisattvas do not suffer when they give their body or give their things. To them there is no anguish, there is no hurt, there is no attachment in parting, because they know the keeping is more painful, incessant suffering. But the parting might have a temporary suffering because you have a what they call a sentimental value or something, which is a nice word for attachment, which is sugar-coated name for attachment. But maybe there's a sentimental kind of feeling of, I haven't got any love or something like that. But wait, after that it took all your worries, all your anxiety. You become basically free. You become basically free to fly, so to speak. when one actually sees how much many sufferings others are having due to not having that, you can almost envisage how much joy and power and usefulness it will generate in your mind. And there you can see even their hellish or their mental anxiety, worry, all be uplifted. And when you see that kind of, usually we pray to see remove suffering of others. But wait until you do remove the sufferings of others. And that is when you practice generosity. And then, if you practice generosity without delay, with diligence, then the Bodhisattva is the one who actually attend most tenderly to the sentient beings who are suffering most. Bodhisattva need to be the attendant to the sentient beings who suffer most. Be that in the hell, animals, or hungry ghosts, and very difficult situation. Wherever there's a severe difficulties, there the bodhisattvas shed sweat and tear and whatever it is. They have meaningful suffering. They have meaningful endurance of difficulties, and they do not become. They don't suffer the pains. They actually use the suffering to purify the sufferings of others. So you cannot allay the sufferings of others out of compassion unless one does not have the formidable power to see the joy in taking sufferings of others or relieving the sufferings of others, for instance. That's why the Bodhisattva is, when they're practicing generosity, they're practicing Tonglen. They're taking the poverty of others on them, which does not add to their poverty, because they don't have any poverty. The poverty of others makes them to engender compassion and generosity. See, others suffering, you take, then you transform that through the bodhicitta machine, and then blends it into, and then practice giving. Then you practice giving. So you got the bodhicitta is good blending machine, you know. Good smoothie. It will create good smoothie. And you thought you don't need all this near all vegetables or fruits, but wait until you know how to put it in the smoothie before they're too old. You were nearly going to throw. Did you notice the people say we are throwing a third of our food? People buy too much or don't use enough, or they think it's old, or they think not good enough, they throw them away. Karma of throwing food is very heavy, you know. Those who have not, live hungry, is very, very many. And how much food we waste is enormous. We don't know. We don't know the suffering. We haven't practiced Tonglen with hungry or thirsty, destitute. If you do, you can practice generosity just by sitting there and thinking about these teachings. You can truly delight yourself by entering into the middle way. Not an extreme way of me, I need this, I want this, this is mine, I want this, I don't like this, I want a better one. All that kind of extreme materialism or decadence, that's the extreme. We have to enter the middle way by practicing generosity. We might already be practicing generosity, so don't get ourselves wrong. But we can learn to have joy in giving, not having kind of type of thing, sort of a little bit of grievances. That, this will be the last time. Please don't come back again. Not that kind of thing. We should give, but we should give by entering into the middle way. The joy and delight that comes in, you know. But we give, but a lot of angst and a lot of things like that. Then it's not middle way. Again, extreme. Again, materialism. Again, giving in the eternalism. Clinging and grasping to that. That does not be a middle way of giving. Because this is Bodhisattva's practice of generosity. Mm-hmm. Bodhisattva's practice of generosity. It says, because they suffered when they cut and gave their own flesh, they see within their mind the pains endured by others caught in hell and other states. They therefore swiftly strive to cut away all pain. So that's when bodhisattvas take on the sufferings of others. And by taking the sufferings of others on them, and that therefore boosts their compassion. We don't feel compassion unless feel the sufferings of others being in their own shoes. And so that's why bodhisattva need to do that. The fourth is classification perfection. The verse number 16. It says, the giving, void of giver, gift and receiver is called paramita that transcend the world. But when attachment to these three occurs, the teaching have defined it as the perfect after worldly ones. So this is to distinguish between the worldly giving and we can call them mundane and super mundane, or worldly giving and transcendental giving. So if we give all the time, that's not the case. We don't. We're always giving things, but often our giving is due to this worldly giving. The object of receiver, the receiver is very important, and the thing you give, and the giving itself. So we become somewhat what is called attached to these three factors or three circles: object, subject, and the action. Yeah, we become either attached to giving by hearing discourses and giving, or we attach to the recipient, or we become attached to ourselves being feeling good. We want to give. So here we need to transcend that by meditating on the interdependent of these three. We were saying before, like Bodhisattva is delighted by hearing somebody asking give. Even though he can't push on to something. Can you have this pen? And then he says no. So then I'm disappointed. So somebody says, Rinpoche, can I have the pen? I'm delighted because so like that. So without someone receiving, needing it, your giving is secondary. Really, it might even be rejected. It might be not needed. But when somebody asks to giving, so you cannot become attached to your giving or the gift you give. You should be thankful that both of them become useful by someone asking. So all these three factors are interdependently originated, therefore not attached neither to the object, nor to the thing, nor to oneself, but seeing all of them as interdependently originated, and therefore practicing with that would be what we call transcendent. That will be the paramita, dana paramita. But those who don't do that, and then attachment occurs either to the object or the subject itself, and so on, then that becomes what we call the worldly generosity. So now we come to the last verse to finish off. It's very beautiful. Talking about the last verse is summarizing the qualities through example. We've been talking about the example of to do with supreme joy, the first Bhumi's result, and now is summarizing the joy itself. Abiding firmly in the minds of the bodhisattva. So, because one has to be in the mindset of the bodhisattvas, holy beings endowed with lovely light. So one becomes a holy being, because if you're able to hold this altruistic motivation with the bodhicitta, and then practice giving, then the mind becomes wholesome. Holy being means wholesome thoughts. It doesn't mean by birth or color or creed or gender. Hereditary. This holy being is by virtue of practicing generosity. How much you will actually feel healed as well. You will feel physically and emotionally feel uplifted and probably feel so happy and joyful, and maybe even heal you some of your physical ailments. It becomes wholesome. It heals you. Holy beings endowed with lovely light. Then you have an actual radiance. Your presence is so so commanding, so benevolent. Your presence, your existence. This joyful ground is like the water crystal gem that scatters the obscuring dark and reigns supreme. So this is talking about the actual benefit. So if one practices the generosity, which transcend attachment to the object, subject, and the generosity itself, then it becomes a dana paramita. Paramita means that transcend or goes beyond ego and self and the doing. And so that's why the one who's abiding, one is holding his mind in the state of the bodhicitta, and then the very bodhicitta holding a repository, the body of the one who has bodhicitta, already become holy. Some practitioners, you can smell a sainted smell, the holiness, the goodness. Just by being in their presence, you feel somewhat blessed or happy. It just has this kind of a radiation effect. Wholesome radiation, not the nuclear radiation. This is a wholesome radio. We call presence, kundun. We call His Holiness Dalai Lama kundun, meaning like when you're in his presence, you can feel it. This is what we're talking about, the radiance of holiness. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Something beautiful, something beyond your imagination or expression. It is speechlessly felt. So this joy that you have is just like the water crystal gem. It's like a moon. It's just so bright, Because it just supreme. It reigns means it reigns the power. It has a command to defeat all the adversities. And therefore, the bodhisattvas always stay in that state of mind without losing or giving in to any adversity, be that poverty or whatever the case might be. Therefore, what we have so far explained, meaning of the Raptugawa, extremely joyful state, is that it dispels the darkness. Any darkness of me, my, I, all this I, me, mine, darkness will be dispelled. So you become victorious because your enemy is me, my, and mine. When this vicious water sort of mill is not turning, then there is no misery. Because all the miseries will be eliminated, and because of that, it is called the crystal gem. Because gem brightly shines, it dispels all the darkness of the night when the full moon shines. When you can see whether it is what they call the crystal gem. Japan thinks crystal gem. They think moon is crystal gem. I don't know where the American landed. I don't think they landed on a crystal gem yet. Some little pebbles on the nearby. I doubt whether anybody landed on my crystal gem. Crystal gem. Because the light she gives is amazing, that's far. But how much light it gives and clear, all that is amazing, And it's cool. It takes away all the heat of the day. There must. So this example is that when you realize bodhicitta, and when you realize this first Bhumi, you have this amazing capacity to penetrate the joy and the benefit. And then, of course, this is the first chapter. It's called Entry to the Middle Way. It is concerned with the extremely great joy. And what it really this chapter teaches us is to walk away from the wilderness of ego and go to the path of selflessness and try to practice loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta by learning to practice giving. This will take us away from all erroneous wrong views of me, my, and mine fears and worries, of the fetters of the self-grasping doubt and the self-superiority of one's own practices. It will humble oneself because the recipient is just as much as a cause of your generosity as your giving is. So your humility comes not from because you are good, but because someone else has such humility to ask things from you. Therefore, they are the cause of your perfection of generosity. And you're having heard the teachings, you're having have some ephemeral possessions, just other kind of assortment for the main thing. The main thing is having sentient beings towards whom we develop loving kindness, compassion, which makes our mind to do and give for them rather than keep for oneself. So, with this we will conclude here. I doubt there's any time or need to have questions. There were a lot to think about and digest in our mind. So we'll dedicate the merit to everyone. Thank you for your attendance. Listening to Dharma is highest form of generosity. Devotion, time, and effort. It's just very cause of even more joy. So with this we do the dedication merits.